Hey, what's up, everybody? As always, this is Brandon from Comics King. Join with me again, as always, Ryan from Ryan's Comics Reviews. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm good. Two great books today, and I'm excited to talk about them.
Two amazing Chris Claremont books to talk about. I'm super excited. But first, we got to introduce our other guest, Steve from Team Nerd Herd Podcast. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Brandon? Thank you for having me. What's going on, Ryan? I'm eager to kind of get into these two picks. I know we got some Claremont classic and delicious goodness that we're going to be reading. Got to catch those classics, right? Brandon, you suckered me into it, dude. So here I am. Let's do it.
I completely suckered you into it, you know? So if you guys are not new to Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, this is episode 6. It's the show we take two issues kind of similar, and we see which one is in the Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame by reading both issues, talking about them both, giving in our opinions, making our jokes, and then at the end we will sort them into Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. They have to go into these categories. Today's theme is out-of-pocket mutant mayhem. So these two characters appeared in different books that were not X-Men titles. So we have Captain Marvel number 18. That is the first appearance of Mystique going up against Iron Fist number 14, which is the first appearance of Sabertooth. And believe me, these are two great books. If you guys ever have the chance to get these books, not only are they important keys to have in your X-Men runs or in your Chris Claremont collections, but they're also fantastic reads. If you have the Marvel Unlimited app, great read as well. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm super excited to get started.
Let's roll.
And make sure you guys are subbing up Ryan. I put his link for his YouTube and Instagram in the description below, as well as Steve. He's part of Team Nerd Herd. I was just featured over there in their mail call. They get a lot of guests. They unbox. They have some sweet hauls. So you guys definitely got to sub them, California guys. So they're running late on our end, but definitely check them out on YouTube. And now let's just address the chat real quick. We got Justin, No Good Comic, Steve, and Brandon, my brothers, and he forgot about Ryan. And he's going to be catching the rewind. He says, have a great show. Thank you, Justin. Another great member of the community. We got Eric, the Phoenix. He's up in here. Welcome. We got Jen Comics will break your heart. How are you doing? She says Mystique all the way.
Oh, she has made it. Let it be known that she believes she must go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Mystique is in the Hall of Fame. That's what we're saying right now. Ryan's like,
we got some issues to talk about.
And Chet said, "Hola, señores. ¿Cómo está, señor?"
Chet
is the X-Men guru of the comic community, so make sure y'all check out his collection. And Eric the Phoenix, what is up? We're talking some X-Men issues, so let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about X-Men number 18 first. This, of course, both stories are by Chris Claremont. The artists differ. This one is going to be by Jim Mooney. He's kind of the Bronze Age artist that no one remembers. If I'm going to sum it up into one nutshell, he's very talented, but he's no John Byrne. He's no...
it doesn't distinguish itself. It's just, it's there. You see it and you're like, oh, well, this is nice, but it's not anything to write home about.
The best person I could compare that to is Ron Fiera of today's, kind of like a filler artist that just gets his job done.
I feel that, yeah.
I can do this. So, classic Chris Claremont writing is to put people in the snow. He did the same thing in X-Men when they got out of the Savage Lands. I believe in 115, 116, one of those issues. I believe Chet will correct me in about 5 seconds. And he did the same with Iron Fist in the issue we're going to talk about today, and did the same with Miss Marvel today. This is Carol Danvers talking about Miss Marvel. Okay, not Kamala Khan, just for all those who's wondering. Tomorrow, what is up, fam? He's bouncing back and forth between this and Robbie's stream, but you got to get on the learning, man. So hopefully we can convince you to stay over here, but I totally understand the commitment. Represent both platforms. Man, look at you. You got to have one on the phone and one on the computer,
Double down, right?
Exactly, doubling down. So Captain Marvel's just returned. Not Captain Marvel. I'm so used to the movie. Miss Marvel. She's coming back from the snowstorm, and she's coming back in. She's getting attacked. Okay. The title list is Avengers Massacre. So when you guys saw this, what were you guys thinking going into this?
I was thinking of a Valentine's Day massacre. She probably went home heartbroken from a dashing debonair guy, and then got shot out of the air, just coming down to her death. But She really didn't. That's what I think.
It's a Valentine's Day Avengers Massacre. Ryan, what were you thinking, man?
I was thinking relatively the same thing. It may not be a surprise. I'm not the biggest Captain Marvel fan, so Miss Marvel, Carol Danvers, whatever. So yeah, I was thinking, kind of that Valentine's Day kind of vibe going on.
Right. And in today's comics, as Captain Marvel, she kind of going back and forth with her love life with War Machine, so that's a little bit interesting. And then she broke up with him, and then she went on and now she's dating Doctor Strange apparently, which is
she's the new Sorcerer Supreme.
Well, in the past 5 years of comics, Doctor Strange has been sleeping with everyone, but
weird choice, Marvel. I feel like he's not the guy to be kind of going around.
Yeah, hey, it's the mystical magic that he can do. Just imagine all the magic he can bring to the relationship, Ryan.
Gross.
that Midas touch.
No, magically get her a prime rib dinner, or you don't have to think that way, Ryan. Come on now.
I would prefer to not think of Doctor Strange in that manner.
But anyway, let's get back to so she's tumbling out of the sky. She lands on top of a building, and we see Janet Van Dyne, so that is the Wasp, and Wanda. Everybody knows Wanda. If you don't know Wanda, there's a good show. It's called WandaVision. They're out shopping because apparently they're doing spring shopping, but this is February. It's Valentine's Day. I don't get it. That's kind of like a gripe I have with this book. It's just technicalities. Just we're a little off in this book. But she's falling, and they're like, oh, wait, that's her. We got to go. And it's Centurion, if I'm pronouncing that right. He's the one who's blasting her out of the sky. When you guys saw him, have you guys ever heard of him prior to this?
No, and the design was really weird. I didn't like it.
Yeah, the design was. What did you think about the design, Steve?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. He looks bug-eyed. He looks like an insect. Would his name be Centurion?
Centurion, yes, thank you.
Yeah, Centurion. Although, I mean, he was a foe that threw down, man. I mean, he's fighting 3 gals right now, and as we get into the panels, we'll kind of unload who comes into the fray as well. But yeah, I mean, in the beginning, you just see Miss Marvel fall from the building. You see Jan and Wanda going to hook her up and save her, man. And from there, we go into Wanda heading up to the top building, man, to try to figure things out.
Right. And if you look closely at the logo in the center of her chest, we all know that is her Kree logo that we saw in the movies. So just kind of comparing her character then to her character now. Okay, just something that stayed the same. I thought was interesting. So she's falling, right? And now we got Wasp, we got Wanda. They're going into the attack. So now this issue starts off with heavy action. Okay, so Jim Mooney drawing it's good. It's good. When we get into it, it's gonna be better. I wish we could show it. One of these days I'm gonna get a slideshow for you guys. And we're gonna be able to pull it up and show you guys each panel. That way we can really compare when we get an artist like John Byrne to an artist like this guy. And you'll see there's no comparison whatsoever. So as they're fighting, Vision and Wonder Man and Yellow Jacket, who's Hank Pym, they come out and they're like, oh, this is like half the Avengers, not even half the Avengers at the time. They're fighting Centurion, so we got that going on. And this was actually really cool to see Wonder Man getting some love because he's not really involved nowadays. He was more involved back then when he was getting, I believe Englehart was on the book at this time, but he was getting a lot of love then in this age of Marvel. Okay, so that's what we're doing, and they're fighting, and eventually she's like, okay, let me disguise myself because she's trying to say that she's getting hunted because of her costume. That Centurion is hunting her costume, not necessarily her as Carol Danvers. So she's thinking, oh, let me transform, and he won't be able to get me because she's getting her butt whooped. Okay?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this plot so far?
I thought it was okay from like the beginning. We got to take back that it's in 1977, right? So this comic's in 1977. That's like I was born in the 80s, so I didn't even get a chance to read that, but I could see the appreciation. I could see where that era of drawing would be appreciated for some of our older folks that, you know, are collecting, and even some of our younger folks that are collecting these keys. The one thing I did appreciate is that she pulled the whammy on Centurion and just put on her normal street clothes, and he was like none the wiser. He was looking like, where is she? She's like right in front of him. She's giving him this distressed look, and he's none the wiser. And here comes Wonder Man bashing through a building and Vision coming through. You know, Wonder Man, need I say, is in a trench coat. Where is his real outfit, you know?
Yeah, he eventually loses the shirt, and she just looks at him, and she's like, whoa, and her eyes just got huge. Like, okay. So that's kind of where we got to see the Valentine's Day theme, when Wonder Man, and he dude is ripped, too.
No, he's cut. He's cut.
Right.
Yeah,
And
he doesn't skip a leg day either.
He does not skip a leg day. So we did get a name drop of Centurion. He was when Wonder Man absorbed the blast that he sent. So Centurion's been sending it. He's been sending like blasts on people. His blasts are so powerful they could knock over Miss Marvel. They could take advantage of Janet, Wasp, and Scarlet Witch. Okay,
and even Vision.
And even Vision, he was able to go up against. He was able to go toe to toe with some of these most powerful heroes. Now, I don't think they were very considered like powerful back then as much as they are now, just simply due to MCU treatment, and they kind of have to push that a little bit more. Yes, sir. Keeping it street. This is going on in the streets. Yes, sir. 100%. And Fable, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show.
Brother Fable.
Fable's been everywhere, man.
Yeah, man. That man's a savvy traveler. That's what we call him.
Exactly. He's a savvy traveler, man. I think he just like time travels from extreme to extreme. He never misses a beat. I love it. Fable's awesome. Great member of the community. Okay, but we got a name drop. Because he's like, oh, Raven told me that they weren't able to withstand my blasts. And he's just hunting. He's hired by Raven, who we later find out. Now, we know what that means. We all know what this means. Yeah. This means that it's Mystique, okay? But at the time when readers are first reading, we're like, oh, who's this Raven girl, right? If you're brand new to Marvel, you have no idea who Mystique is. You've never seen an XMen movie. That name drop may not be as big, right? The way that Claremont writes is he'll establish something. Like, he established Jean Grey's powers as Phoenix in 101. He didn't later get to that story until 130, okay? So Raven, as Mystique, only appears in a panel, but she got a name drop that's going to foreshadow later in the X-Men comics and in Miss Marvel. Okay, so is this first appearance huge in this story? No, because it's kind of like, okay, here's the tier 1, and she's like tier 2, tier 3. She's up a few levels. Okay, and she's at the Pentagon overseeing everything. She's the Assistant Secretary of Defense and Research Development. So she has some hands in there, so we know that she's powerful. Okay, what were you guys thinking when you got that first appearance of Raven Darkholme? It's right here, right in the middle of the story. What was going through your guys' head? We know who Raven is.
Yeah, I'll admit, when I first read it, I had to go back. And when I saw Raven, I had to re-see Raven and go, okay, I think this could be Mystique. But originally, I kind of ran through it, and I'm like, wait, let me go back and kind of put two and two together. And as soon as I saw Raven, I thought already, okay, it's going to be Mystique somewhere along this issue. Is she important? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a key issue, but it doesn't pertain to much in the story. It's kind of like very highlighted, and it kind of just goes right over it.
Right, it's there.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'll definitely touch on this when we talk about Iron Fist. But one key difference between these two issues, Mystique really isn't that important to this issue, quite frankly. Whereas, when we get into the other issue, Sabertooth is incredibly important to that issue. Just talking about less about the character, more about the design. Although I'm not a big fan of Mystique as a character, I think the design is great.
Oh yeah.
Personally, I think it works really well. I also think whoever colored this issue, the coloring is really nice. It's really vibrant and kind of what you want from a Miss Marvel type book. And so Mystique looks really great in that. You guys can't see the panel, but basically the backdrop of it is orange, and Mystique, she's blue, so she really sticks out with her white kind of clothes, and I think the design looks great.
Right, and she has a lot of skulls in her costume too. It's a very well done costume. And again, Mystique and Sabertooth go into like kind of like the differences in who they are. Mystique is more of a strategist.
Absolutely.
She has to blend in a lot. Think about it. She's infiltrating the Pentagon, right? Sabertooth is more like, I'm gonna kick your ass now.
Yeah, and the way Danny Rand deals with that kind of highlights it best.
Right. He's more like, I'm gonna do something and apologize later. That's kind of like the biggest difference between the two. So it's like, what do you want in your villains? Do you want someone that's what makes him such a good villain against Wolverine, is because they have the same mindset.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, the same animalistic mindset. With Mystique, that's why she tethers more towards Magneto and more towards like the brother, people who are very methodical about their movements and when they strike. So when you're introducing her like this, I think that's perfect way that they're setting up. In relations to the story, maybe not in this issue, but again, she's being methodical. So we're going to see her later on play a much bigger role. Now, this is all in tiers, and that's the way Chris Claremont writes.
Mm-hmm. I like how he sets the tone for it. I mean, he lines it up, and then later in the issue will be like there's a little more meat on the bones for the reader.
Right. It's very much Claremont. He sprinkles the seeds throughout the issues, and then eventually he's what the mark of a good writer is, you shouldn't put anything in if it doesn't mean something. So like directors talk about like the significance. Like if something is highlighted in your movie, you better use it later and it better pay off later. Claremont is a master of this. He's planting the seeds. This one's a little straightforward in the sense of we see her transform and we see Mystique, but all these little things like her position, her personality, all of that's going to be paid off later. So Claremont's a master writer. So
right, and think about it. He was already establishing Sabertooth in 12 and 13 of Iron Fist. Okay, Ryan, I know you've read it.
I have.
Steve, I don't know if you've read any of the earlier issues.
No, I haven't read the earlier issues, but I did get to this issue that we are going to talk about for sure.
Right.
But I will go back.
Yeah,
Marvel Unlimited is my friend.
It's
I take full advantage.
It's very good. And in Iron Fist, Sabertooth was being established in issues prior, and he appears later on, having his second and third appearances both in these books. I believe one was in Iron Fist Empowerment number. Chat's gonna correct me in the chat. 48, I believe, was his second appearance. It was either his second or his third. But again, they're both great writing. But anyway, back to this story. Okay, so after we get introduced to Raven, she's kind of watching everything. Okay, Carol's kind of like, okay, screw it, and she takes Wonder Man, she throws him at Centurion, and it doesn't really do much. And she goes through and punches him. Yellow Jacket appears, but he's not. He's more like babysitting his wife and looking out for her because she was in the fight previously. So he's like, Chet says, of whom? The second and third appearances of Sabertooth. You have 10 seconds. Go, Chet. He's going to have it in a minute. He just got back. Welcome back. You should have been here all along. But that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. And she escapes. She keeps like transforming between herself. She comes back in a completely different costume because, again, she's being hunted. So this time she's in her Kree costume when she's actually like on Hala. Okay. So then she goes into this power plant where there's like a magnetic generator. And she's like, wait a second. His suit is sensitive. Power Man Iron Fist 58. I said 48. I was close. Come on. That's
You're 10 too short, brother.
No, come on, man.
Yeah, I can't even give you the nod.
You can't even give the nod?
If it was 5, maybe I'll give it to you. Maybe.
You know what?
And it's too far for me, dog.
All right. Well, you know what? We're not talking about that. We're not the purpose of the show. But it is what it is. But okay, so she basically overloads his system with magnetic sounds. Man, I wish Magneto were here right now. And then as he's like already kind of dazed, she punches him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the mark of a true superhero. Yeah. Always punching right through it. You know.
she takes
Kick
off,
him while he's down.
and it's somebody who works for S.H.I.E.L.D., which is a little bit interesting because now, like, okay, who's ordering people from S.H.I.E.L.D. to come attack us? So that's really the whole mystery. In the next issue, she's going to meet Marvel. Yeah, so the original Captain Marvel. So that's the end of that issue. What are your guys' thoughts at the end of this?
You know, I liked it, you know, because this is me getting to read older stuff. So Chris Claremont had me sold on Ms. Marvel, and it was a good story. It was enough to kind of get me started. I was able to see progression for Miss Marvel and what her character was, and you know the Avengers, and seeing them kind of come into the fray. I want to say that this was maybe a little bit of their smaller team because, like, again, to your point, there was no Thor, there was no Iron Man, so it was good character development to see them together. And but to see Centurion just take all of them out, I mean, for me, it was like they're the Avengers, though, but they should have better teamwork. I mean, you see Miss Marvel pick freaking Wonder Man up and throw him like a rock. You know, like, where is, you know, what happened there? That's what I want to ask. You know, it's like trying to skip it along the like a pond or something, like a rock trying to skip it along the pond. But
right. The entire run was good. The entire run had clout. Chad, I hope you're using clout correctly. But but yeah, I agree 100% because Wanda and Vision were they were very important in the Kree Skrull War. They were very heightened during that time. I don't know what happened to them, why they're like kind of given Centurion the kind of short end of the stick. But you know, you're going up against Yellow Jacket, Wasp, Wonder Man, who was really the only one who was able to take it all in.
Yeah, yeah. You know? He was able to put up a bit of a fight.
Brandon, I'll show you clout when we meet. Clout means like popularity, or like it has like something to bring people in. Kind of like if I say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have clout, it means that they have people that are like kind of fans, or like kind of.
Grant Morrison has clout in the comic book.
Yeah. When you talk about clout, it's a specific tier.
Exactly. Like you got stuff to back you up. You know, you're a titan of the industry.
Right, like Tom Brady has clout. He has 7.
Tom Brady's got clout. He does have clout.
Right.
All right, but back to Miss Marvel. I think the mark of a good story is for me anyway, taking a character or multiple characters that I don't typically enjoy and make me enjoy the issue. So, like, for instance, you know, Wally West is one of my favorite comic book characters. I know, but I'm just saying, like, we'll take Iron Fist, you know, who's relevant. You know, he's my favorite Marvel character. So I see Danny on the page, I'm pretty much going to enjoy it, regardless of the quality. But you know, I've never been a fan of Carol Danvers. I've really never been a fan of Mystique. But this issue was really solid, a good read. And you know, it made me feel like, oh, if I was back in 1977. If I was back in 1977 and I picked up this issue in my LCS, would I continue with it? And I said, you know what? The fact that Chris Claremont can make me actually consider picking up a Miss Marvel title, you know, fair play, man, fair play.
Yeah, right. I would agree, Ryan, because I'm looking at forward and not backwards. I'm looking to modern. But you always have to go back to appreciate like the classics, right? If you can't appreciate what happened and what came first, you can't appreciate what they're doing now and in the future, right? So for me, like looking at both titles written by Chris Claremont, it gave me a bit of an appreciation to not like just see X-Men, but to see different character developments in different type of you know, pivotal moments in Marvel's history. So for me, that I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the read. I appreciated it for what it was, and it got me to continue to move forward. And yeah, but I'd have to say, man, I can't. I'm ready for the next issue to kind of go.
Yes, man. But just to kind of wrap up my thoughts on Miss Marvel, what I didn't like, what I couldn't stand was the Avengers were kind of a distraction for her to hide. You know, and it was like, it's good strategy, but you're a hero and you're putting a lot of lives at risk. right? You're going through hotels. Even Janet's like, "Hey, Wanda, take the stairs, take the elevator," and she can't even get up the elevator because people are trampling on her. It's like, it was half of it was kind of nonsense with it. I think she could have easily disguised herself without the Avengers there.
I will agree. I think the Avengers were less characters and more plot device. Honestly.
Yeah, that's the thing that I didn't like. It. That's Ryan. You nailed it on the head. And now segueing, because now you get to talk all about Iron Fist and lead our discussion in that.
All right, you want to talk about defining runs. So, little backstory. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been waiting to do an Iron Fist book on Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame, because I love Iron Fist. I will pick up anything this man is in. But I learned and I fell in love with the character in the defining Ed Brubaker, Matt Fraction, Immortal Iron Fist run. But as Brandon has so graciously allowed me to read some Marvel Unlimited, I have gone back and I have read a lot of the Chris Claremont, John Byrne, seminal, the insert Ryan fanboy. Absolutely. I know you but absolutely, dude. You gotta expect this, man. You put an Iron Fist book on. I'm gonna talk for 20 minutes about my boy Daniel.
Danny Rand.
But anyway, so yeah, this is like the defining Iron Fist run. As I mentioned, written by Chris Claremont, art by John Byrne. Now, one thing I will say, yes, Iron Fist fans, where we at?
What's up, Link?
Missing link.
But yeah, so you want to talk about, I think this issue really succeeded where the other one failed, in the sense of this issue is stacked to the brim with content. You're paying 30 cents for this book back then. And you do not feel robbed, because there is so much story in this book. It's crazy. So yeah, obviously Chris Claremont, who was probably the biggest writer in comics back then, maybe.
Was him, Denny O'Neil, I would put in there.
Yeah, him or Denny O'Neil. That's a fair shout. And then John
Marvel.
Yeah,
Frank Miller was doing Daredevil at this time.
Yeah. This may be a bit like right before Miller became godlike status. I would consider Miller like early 80s as opposed to late 70s. But but anyway, Chris Claremont, he was a titan in the industry. And he's writing Iron Fist. And obviously one of the most iconic artists in all of comic books, John Byrne. Burn baby burn. So yeah, and if we want to talk about John Byrne's art real quick before we jump into the story, the Iron Fist design is the most 1970s, Nightwing disco outfit design ever, and I absolutely love it. I love how impractical the collar is.
Yeah, right. That collar is flashy.
You call him disco?
Yeah, he told him. Yeah, dude. Look at those slippers he got.
Yeah, he's wearing
those. Yeah, those are Gucci. Yeah,
I love how he's literally
just slide right now, just slide to the left.
Well, while I was reading it, I love how he's literally in the North Pole and he's wearing slippers without socks, and his chest V goes down to like his hips with his bare chest exposed.
Yeah, dude, that's for the ladies, dude. That's why she's all screaming in pleasure,
Hey, Chris Claremont loves having his artists draw chests.
Yeah.
And he loves to do it with Storm and X-Men.
Yeah.
But anyway,
for Justin,
jumping into the issue, we're thrown right into the middle of this, climactic thing that's going on. Claremont, I've seen him do this a couple times where we start in the middle, then go back to the beginning, and then go to the end. It's a common practice among we start in the middle, the climax, the action, go back, explain how we got here, and then end it off. So Danny and this woman, Colleen, they're running from these what look like assassins or soldiers, trained soldiers. They're in all black. They're riding snowmobiles after them. And then they shoot. and they basically Colleen is incapacitated, and Danny is he's just waiting for them to leave, because it's there's a snowstorm coming, and so they're like, well, let's get out of here. I thought the snowstorm was a bit convenient, but let's not finish them off. There's a snowstorm coming.
Classic Claremont, put him in a snowstorm.
Yeah, but I think that really addresses conflict, right? And having to get through this. So it shows that a hero, although being as powerful as Danny is, Mother Nature wins at that end, right? So it shows a conflict there. It's like, we're going to put you in a compromising position to get through, and you're going to show us what a real hero is. And Danny delivers, damn it.
Oh, he always delivers, and that's why he's the best. But
apparently not to Misty in this issue.
But, Claremont, he makes the situation feel really dire with that snowstorm. You think, oh, it's a snowstorm, whatever, but he makes it feel like, oh, if we're out in the cold for too long, we are going to die. So they get up and they head. They're heading to this winter shack that the assassins mentioned. Now, like, as Danny's walking, he's remembering, because he's really weak, weaker than usual, and he remembers he was in an alley in New York, and then suddenly he is bested in combat, and this person who looks like Iron Fist has bested him, and he goes, he knows who Danny is, and he says, "I'm your executioner." And then we're like, whoa, what was that?
Right, that word choice just boomed.
Yeah, it's just one page, not, we don't really get a hint of anything. Just, this is something that happened. And he leaves it vague enough that we're like, wow, like, did that just really happen? We gotta, he's keeping the gears turning.
Right, and this is where we are right about here. My camera will focus a little bit on it, but you can see, right, that's all we're left with.
Yeah, and it looks. We'll talk about that. Man.
Wait, okay, so the chat's already voted 1 for 1 and 1. We got one Mystique.
Yeah, we're 1 for 1.
And we know what Eric's gonna say. He dead.
So then they make it to this winter shack. Danny's like, all right. And I love this moment. With his slippers on, he just kicks down the door.
Yeah, he's a master martial artist. I mean, any other way to open the door would be unsatisfying.
It's so like,
hey Steve, you did martial arts. Is that how you walked into the dojo? Boom!
Yeah, every time, man. Sidekick, no pain. That's it. Sweep the leg.
No game. Sweep the leg. Cobra Kai.
But basically, they get in and they see the whole thing is gutted. There's not even insulation. And so they're like, well, we're kind of screwed, and then Danny's like, wait, and actually this is really cool because I had not researched, but I'd heard something about how you can go into this like meditative state. And I watched a video. Some guy ran a marathon in the Arctic in just shorts and didn't get hypothermia because he can lower his intake and his metabolism, keep his body naturally warmer. So I thought that was just something that I related it to. Claremont clearly kind of knows. He's one of those guys like Mark Waid or like
good comparison.
Yeah, who has that encyclopedic knowledge of the universe he's working in. And now Mark Waid, he is the encyclopedic knowledge of either universe, which is rather impressive. But they know what's going on, and they know these. It's really impressive when a writer takes a real world concept and applies it, in mystical ways in these books. But anyway, Danny kind of like. He like meditates and he like mind shares with her, and then we get to the flashback.
Real quick, Steve, I got
go ahead.
Steve, I have a question for you. You're a Colleen Wing. What are you doing? Are you meditating?
Oh yeah, no, dude. For me, that was in Zen. Because to Ryan's point, with that fellow running in the forest, lowering his temperature, you also have people swimming in cold temperatured water. They control their breathing. It's really a mental thing. I mean, if this is kind of a good nod to Chris Claremont, kind of identifying martial arts and like the meditation and what your mind can really put you through and what it could take you through versus the physical. So this is kind of like alludes to that to me, and it was a great nod. I mean, I appreciated it. Most definitely. I mean, I think that was really good character development too, showing who Iron Fist is. He's Danny Rand. He's like Kung Lao master. Just he really truly believes in who he is and what he emulates is what that really for that panel for me was really showing. And I mean, he was probably thinking about Ghost back then. Maybe wanting to get with a girl and create a HOS.
Meditation.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Hey, baby, let's meditate."
Yeah, that's right, man. But the thing is, with that is, it also alludes to how they got there and everything. So, Ryan, what were you opening up with, man? Because I'm already giddy here, and I'm ready to get to the meat and potatoes of the story. So, hit me with it, brother.
Yeah. So basically, we see an airplane, and we see Danny kind of getting off the plane and meeting with Colleen. They're journeying, talking about previous things that had gone on in the book, kind of keeping with continuity. Basically saying, hey, we're in this new story arc and everything, and things are moving along, but everything you read is still valid and happened, and has affected Danny in this way. Talking about Misty and the Caribbean, but they move, and we get a character moment for Danny where he's like, Colleen's like, do you have any idea how much you hurt her? And he's like, I didn't mean to, and that kind of sums up Danny in the sense of he's not a bad guy, obviously. He's just kind of clueless sometimes. Well, you will have to wait and see. All right. I'd love to see a heated debate in the comments about what you guys think.
I believe the current term is glizzy, but I could be wrong.
Glizzy?
I'm kidding.
But yeah, like we see this time and time again. I think I don't really love the Iron Fist series and the Defenders show on Netflix. But we see Danny as kind of like a fumbling do-gooder in the sense of like, yeah, he's always going to try his best, but he makes mistakes and he's very fallible, and but he's always going to try his best, which makes me love the character. But yeah, so they take a helicopter to this kind of area, and they're immediately stopped by the people we saw earlier who were hunting them, and hunting them down and force them to go to the shack. And you love how like you don't know. Thank you. But
hey, Fit, you
just,
back, man? What's up? He was here from Weekly Wrap Up last week. That's awesome.
Just my my vibes when I play FIFA or I'm reading comics. I just kind of vibing with the LEDs. But we get this cool moment where I'm a sucker where you're thrown into this action. You're like, this is awesome. I'm loving this, but I want to know how they got here and the motivations, because we didn't really get any motivations of Danny or Colleen, but now we understand. And this is where we see Sabertooth for the first time. When I saw it, I kind of, maybe this is just me, but he kind of gave me Bane on Santa Prisca vibes. Maybe that's the DC in me, but
to me, he had a nice, some nice mullet chops and a nice little hairstyle, dude. I don't know what you're saying. And then he got a fur coat on, man. He's ready for that winter.
Bro, he was a big boy in the Super Bowl halftime show that one year.
He looks great. I was thinking like, he's running this establishment. He's like, he just has a bunch of armed guys, and he's just kind of this like costumed weirdo. And I just like, he was like, I'm the boss. But yeah, no, the design is great. Burn. He delivers. And like you mentioned, he's got those big chops, the blonde mullet, the blonde eyebrows.
The facial expressions really sold me. That's
Oh
something
yeah.
that was like very distinguishable between the two stories, the two different art styles. And like I said earlier, Mooney and Byrne don't compare. Byrne's facial expressions really deliver the story and make you feel everything. It's a great combination with Claremont's writing.
Yeah, no, Byrne. In this story, he doesn't really have a lot of backdrops to draw, but the background is relatively bland throughout the issue. But that's fine because he makes up for it with these facial expressions where, he. I think the reason that there is, whether it's a solid color fill in or just random, walls or something, a non-starter in the background, it's to hone us in on the facial expressions and the characters' feelings that Byrne conveys very, very well. So we see, Sabertooth running this operation, and immediately, it was kind of cool to see. He didn't even know who Danny Rand was. Like, he didn't expect anything of him. He just thought he was just going to be this pushover. And Danny, he's just being escorted away, and then whack, he just like takes him out, and gets into a bit of a scuffle with Sabertooth. But that they're able to escape, and that's when we fill in the gap where, okay, they escaped. This is where we met them at the beginning of the story, and now here they are in the present.
Right. And Steve, what's going through your mind when we're seeing Sabertooth for the first time? Because we all know who he is, but this is like, boom, the name drop. This is where he first appeared.
Yeah, in actually seeing this issue, because I saw it at a honey hole that Ian has, and in looking at it, it was great to see, because it's like you see the history there, but being able to see him on the panel and say, "Oh, okay, this is for Sabertooth." It's and for like someone that's newer to reading, that reads more modern, I was like, okay, I can appreciate that. And then Chris Claremont, I think in this story there was more dialogue. The story was written excellent, and just the way they drew everything. For me, I mean, I'm already cutting to the finish line. For me, this was the one to read. I enjoyed this issue more than I enjoyed Ms. Marvel. There was more dialogue, there was more story, and it all, like, to Ryan's point, I like what he did with the story. You're getting bits and pieces, and it's making you continue to read and put it all together. And I mean, seeing Sabertooth, man, I mean, who can hate on that, man? I mean, my favorite superhero is Wolverine. So I mean, to be greeted with his villain, his arch nemesis, I'm like, yeah, I'm down for it. And to see Iron Fist, coming into that and being faced with a different villain that's a little more stronger than him, that's a little more faster than him, that puts him in a place to really dig deep. For me, that was icing on the cake, man.
100%, man. And sorry to interrupt you, Ryan. Let's continue with the story.
Yeah. So, we're already 42 minutes in, and not that I want to cut this conversation short. I just don't think, the end of the story is really, it's relatively basic. They disguise themselves, go confront Sabertooth. And then we have this climactic final battle where, Colleen, she's leading her team of females against the guards, while Danny takes on Sabertooth. And as an Iron Fist fan, it's really great to see Danny. Bro, okay. Anyway, basically we see Danny, fight this new foe who, as you mentioned, he's a bit stronger, he's a bit faster, and it's great to see Danny fight someone who's not a master of kung fu, because that's who we see. He always fights masters of kung fu. And then, he's temporarily blinded, so he has to go all daredevil and rely on his senses, which is really cool. And we get another shirtless Danny in the end, just standing over Sabertooth. It's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing was, I like how Sabertooth led him out into that white noise, right? Because he was blinded by the reflection, and he took full advantage. So that goes to show you who Sabertooth really is. He's a hunter, right? And he maximizes his kill. I mean, he's just as a Sabertooth. But the other thing I liked to see when I read this was Danny going back to his training, like you said, Ryan. He went to his used his daredevil-esque senses to defeat the enemy, to defeat the foe, to be the true master of martial arts.
Right. And to your point, that's kind of where, right? Because in the world of martial arts, you kind of have people that are good. You got people that are great. What really separates the two is how you apply and how you bounce back from your disabilities. Okay, and that's something as a martial artist I'm going through right now. So I can relate to that. I'm not blind, but I'm definitely in a little bit of a setback. And Steve, you know all about it. Ryan, you guys know all about it. I'm not here to talk about that. But this is an interesting question. How do you guys like Sabertooth in the X-Men movies versus the comics? Steve, do you want to go first? Because that's kind of biggest interest in this.
So this will be coming from somebody that didn't read any of the older stuff, and that just finally got to read one issue of Sabertooth. I'll work my way back as I go. So for me, on an entertainment purpose, I would say I saw X-Men 1 and I liked that Undertaker was Sabertooth. Because I could just point that out. But that's just a piece, right? They take a piece of that, they make it to Hollywood, they fabricate what entertainment is going to be and the direction they want to go. But if you're going to get down to the appreciation of the character, then I would say you want to read the comic books, get to know the history, get to know the character. And if it's not relevant because of the time, maybe find a storyline that is relevant to the time and that you can have a better appreciation to read something a little more in the time, right? To give you a better appreciation of that. Because I think a comic book character for me, now that I'm reading more comics, I would want to see, he has no idea who Undertaker is. That just shows me I'm old.
Right. You're not that
Oh,
old.
wait, no. He said I had no idea it was the Undertaker. Actually, it's not. It was Kane. So my bad. I thought you said you had no idea who the Undertaker was, and I was like, I am every bit of 40 right now. I'm just gonna sign off, just for old age. But sorry for rambling. But yeah, I mean, I would go with the comic. Now, if I could ask myself over again, I would say read the comics, have the better appreciation, and then if you looked at the movies now, that's just more for solid entertainment, right?
Right. Honestly, I think Sabertooth was such a badass in this issue. He sets everything up the way a hunter would. You lure them into a trap, you take away their biggest strength, and you collapse on them. I love his costume in the comics, and the way that he was brought in, and the way that he was later established to be one of Wolverine's biggest bads. Wolverine's biggest bad of all time. You could argue it was like the Weapon X program and all that other stuff, or Hulk at some point wearing it, but Sabertooth is known to be one of his biggest villains. And the way that was built up over the years is astonishing. It's astonishing X-Men. Fun there, but I love the comic version of him. He's introduced in such a bombastic way. If you like a character, definitely read their origin. See where they come from, see where they stem, because then you're just gonna, like Steve said, have a greater appreciation for the character and a deeper love. And again, it's Chris Claremont writing it, so it's badass.
Oh yeah.
Read it anyway. Flashpoint is, where are you, Flashpoint? You said something that I didn't like. Why do you keep doing books like this, Mick Marvel Trashola? When are you having me on for the Flash books? When you not drive your Tesla while we're doing a show?
No, I'd like to add something real quick. We're not going to do any books on shitty characters, so Barry Allen's off the table. So I don't know.
Yeah!
Hey!
Shots fired. Shots fired.
So Ryan, but while we wait for Flash's response, what do you like better, the movie or the comic?
Honestly, I do like to ramble because I like to get all my thoughts out. But here, I completely agree with everything that you two just said. I couldn't add anything myself. Absolutely. Comic books, but the movie's just for kind of basics on the character, but you get more motivation, cooler moments in the comics.
Yes, 100%. Now, to the next part of the segment, we're talking about Hall of Fame, Hall of Shame. Steve, you already put your vote in.
I gotta go Iron Fist, man.
I gotta go Iron Fist too, because we just got so much Sabertooth in this book. We got, they both were so heavily influenced with dialogue. When it comes down to it, the art did not carry so much in Miss Marvel, so the dialogue matching up with it didn't really translate to my interests. The characters in Iron Fist were more meaningful to the story, more meaningful to themselves. I think Claremont, he's a very gifted writer. This is not a knock to anything he did with Miss Marvel because it's fantastic, and it was very methodical to his long-term run, which was introducing more mutants. But in this issue, we got more. If we're talking about which issue is better, not only is this issue more expensive, but it's also a better story.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say yeah. Go for it.
Absolutely. I think. Even looking besides, because we usually talk about which key is more important. Just even looking beyond that, the Miss Marvel story felt kind of like a lot happened, but nothing happened. And you know what I mean, in the sense of stuff happened in the story and it was interesting and cool, but in the end, it didn't feel like a lot of content. A lot of the side characters. Even the funny thing is the Iron Fist story had a lot of characters that weren't well established. We didn't have the Vision, the Wanda, Yellow Jacket, the Wasp,
Wonder Man. Wonder Man was
Wonder Man,
bro.
But they felt more real and more grounded and less like, hey, these are in here to connect the universe or to make the plot work, essentially. And I'm a bit biased, obviously.
Do that, bro.
But honestly, I even taking my bias out of it, I just like Sabertooth more as a character than I like Mystique. So, and I think the issue is way better. So yeah, definitely Iron Fist in the Hall of Fame.
They're both great books to pick up and add to your piece.
Oh, absolutely.
If you are looking to key collect, my spec is you're going to see Sabertooth in the MCU a lot closer than you're going to see Mystique. Because I think, what's her name? J-Law, Jennifer Lawrence, is her, whatever she did on that character is going to be far away from anything Marvel's going to do in the future.
Well, we'll see. I'm really liking Falcon and the Winter Soldier right now. I didn't really like the first episode, but I really, really liked the second episode.
100%.
Last week we talked about, I'm one of the few people that really do like John Walker. But I think once we get the X-Men and we get Wolverine, I think Sabertooth is a given. So maybe if you want to pick this book up before it spikes, we see these books that have MCU, first appearance John Walker, first appearance, we saw my poster back there, first appearance is Jane Foster's Thor. When Love and Thunder was released, those prices spike. So maybe preemptive buy if you've been looking at it for a while.
Right. So these are classic stories. Now, I always, again, I'm going to give a shout out to Team Nerd Herd. Their motto is, you want to do it right, Steve, finish it out.
Collect what you like.
Exactly. And that slogan is really meaningful because, like, if you like a character, go for it, bro. You like collecting moderns, and there's go for it. You like reading classic stories, go for it. You're in there for the movies, you're in there for the nostalgia. Or you're here for Ryan to be completely biased to 4 characters on his list. But
hey, man, he likes what he likes. That's all. That's it.
There's something for everybody here in this hobby. My biggest thing is if you're looking to collect a book in a raw copy, always collect the older stuff first rather than a current book, because the older ones they're gonna get tossed around, they're gonna get damaged quicker, and there are less copies, less of a print run. Get it. If you want to get it signed, do it before the creator is no longer here. Current books, there isn't such high print run, and you never know what's going to happen with those, and they're eventually going to dip. Current books, once they get out there in circulation, right, they're going to start up here, and then they're gonna fall. That's my biggest thing. Some books, okay, like an Ultimate Fallout 4, they're probably at the top. Edge of Spider-Verse, number 2. I think it's going to head in a slight decline soon. That's kind of my biggest spec. But again, definitely take a look at some of these older stories. There's a lot of history, a lot of great work. All right. And Steve, do you have anything more to add?
Aside from the issue, or
aside from everything we just discussed, anything
oh man, I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show, man. I've been watching your guys' show. I love that you guys are, and age is nothing, right? Age is nothing but a number. But I love to see like younger readers that are looking at older stuff, like all the older classics, right? because it urges me to say like, okay, well, you need to switch things up a little more and read some more of the older stuff, so that whatever you're reading in the near future that you've read, you at least know that where the history, because you just can't appreciate it if you're not going back. And even though some of those stories may not be relevant, or they're just a little more painful to kind of read through, at least you have a better appreciation of the artwork back then to like what it is now. I mean, because we're in a booming area where, I mean, you got several publishers that are putting out great work. Like you got the big two, you got Image, you got all these comics. So for me, like to be able to watch your guys' show as a fan, right? And watching you guys, I've watched your guys' Batman last week with John Walker and US Agent. So to be able to watch you guys kind of interact with each other and to go over that, it's given me a better appreciation. It's allowed me to say, okay, stop what you're reading now and go back and kind of read more things.
And we really appreciate that, and I hope we're able to do that for more people as well. My biggest thing is if there's a run that you don't like for example, I've read all 62 issues of this book and it's crap. It's garbage. Steve, we were talking about this off camera. When you see a crap book like this, you still want your Spider-Man, so go back and read some Spider-Man. Because there are great Spider-Man stories. You got the JMS run in 1999 to 2007, I believe his run spent.
Well, the beginning of that is pretty good. As it goes on,
it was just as good, bro. But
Sins Past, One More Day. I mean,
Sins Past was good, except it was good. It just felt weird.
Well, wait, I did. Okay, so I will read. When I got in, I started reading the Sin Eater, right? Back in, just to start reading ASM. And I was okay with the Sin Eater, and then it got to Kendrick, and I was like, okay, I cannot keep reading anymore because I know there's better stuff out there, for a fact. So for me, like I'll be honest, I'm gonna look at Chip Zdarsky's 4-issue run that he's gonna be writing, The Shadow of So I'll read that because I like Chip. I like where he's going with Daredevil. I like where he's going with Stillwater. If you guys are,
Stillwater's fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to support those powerful, writers that are putting out great work. So, as far as Spider-Man, it does pain me and hurt me to see where it's going. I mean, I'm okay with seeing different characters development, but for Boomerang, he's such a C-lister character. Like, to me, he's not prevalent like the Sinister Six and mind you, Spider-Man has a huge art gallery. So when I see art gallery, I'm looking at the bottom barrel of Boomerang and just know that he became homies with them. They're roommates and whatever. It's like, oh my god, what?
Gog, who turns into a kaiju monster when his collar's off.
I think all right. I will agree with you that I don't think the run as a whole has been good even, but I do like in the beginning, I liked where Spencer was heading with Boomerang. I think that was really cool. I love the issue where they go to the bar and Peter has to answer Spider-Man trivia. And
that was fun.
It's fun. It was fun, but he hasn't delivered. What
happened?
Yeah.
Who decided to let him go down this path that he's doing? I've been ranting about it for 2 weeks now.
But to credit him, I'm sure he has some really good runs that he's written as well. I mean, everybody has a process, right? You got to be. It's much like the Claremont thing, right? He's going to be put into a compromising position to where he can rise as, quote unquote, Eric the Phoenix.
Spencer wrote a good Ant-Man. He wrote a good.
Rose is good.
He wrote Sam Wilson as Captain America, which was very defined. But other than that,
he wrote X-Men after Ultimatum. He wrote Ultimate X-Men after Ultimatum, and I thought that was, I think, right? With Jimmy Hudson as Wolverine.
I don't know. I never read.
But I read a few issues of that. It was pretty solid, if that was him. But Superior Foes of Spider-Man was good.
The first arc was good. The Sin Eater arc was fine. The first 2 issues of Kindred were fine. The issue where Chance appears is fine. His meeting with James Jonah Jameson in issue 42 is fine, or 32 was good. Coelho was on the art, so I think I was more a fan of that. But Yeah, they're better books, but we're not talking about Spider-Man. But anyway, guys, Steve, do you have anything coming up on your show?
Oh yeah, so we do have. I know Ian and Alonzo will be on Newbie's show tomorrow. If you guys are not tuned into Newbie and Hyper Combo and Mr. Keys and FaceTime, I strongly suggest subbing up to their show. They are bringing that new spec volume and they are bringing that fire, man. They have really good insight. So Ian and Alonzo will be on that show tomorrow. We got JR and myself gonna get into Frank Miller's Daredevil run on book binging, so we're gonna go ahead and go over that. You got cell phone balling with my boy Nick and Ian. That is usually impromptus, but if you are wanting to kind of get a gist of the next big thing of collecting, like stocks and NFTs, that's where you're gonna go. If not, and you're looking at tangibles, we got something for you because you got where comics and cards collide with Alonzo. He kind of dips into a little bit of the speculation of more Marvel cards, more sports cards, Pokemon, what's hot. He also does those movie interviews, and in the recent months of November, you guys will be seeing a lot more different interviews. We are going to be releasing Ross Ritchie on Friday, so it'll premiere at 8 p.m. We also will be interviewing John Boy Myers, so that should probably be out in the near future as well. And then April, you guys, I'm super excited. I hope you guys are super excited, but we're super excited to bring a big April as well. We got a lot of great guests. We're bringing back Matt Kent, just for a little teaser. Won't tell you about what we're going to go over, but that's it, man. I mean, we're super busy, and we hope that we are able to bring extreme content. And I want to thank you guys for having me on the show, Brandon. Thank you, man. I love ComixKings. He's a brother of mine. And if you guys aren't subbed up, sub him up, give him a like, comment. Let's get this community going, guys. I mean, this takes time, this takes effort, and it's students to the game like them that are showing you guys why you fall in love with comics. Just like everybody in the chat. If you guys all have channels, reach out to us, man. We want to get you guys on a mail call, treat this community and it'll treat you well back. Brandon is a good spokesperson for it, and Ryan as well. Much appreciated. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
No problem.
Thank you.
Anything
Thank
else?
you. So actually, I've been reading a lot, midterms were this week, so been super duper busy with that. And I'm actually going to Florida on Wednesday, so not gonna so we're gonna stay safe, but some nice warm weather away from New Jersey will be nice. But not a lot of the next week I'm gonna try to have a backlog of stuff, couple reviews, and of some books I've read, some Jason Todd stuff, a little bit of Flash stuff, but then the week after that, going back, fully with Wednesday, new comic book stuff, long discussions. I have this series on my channel where me and my cousin Chad deep dive into the Scott Snyder Batman series, where we go, we pick a run and we 1.5 2-hour videos of just deep diving into the book and the symbolism and everything. So we will be back the week after with Zero Year, and we're going to do the 2 volumes in that. So very excited.
There you go, man. And then coming up on ComixKings, I'm going to have an edited video of Daredevil for Archive. Going to be kicking off that series with your Archives, which is where we do book reviews. It's nothing too exciting. But thank you, Steve, definitely for coming on the show. Ryan, thank you as always. It has been an absolute pleasure with you guys.
Y'all later. Thank you.
It's been great. Absolutely amazing.
You guys, I'd love to come back on again, man. Love you guys.
Absolutely. We will make that happen.